What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video where I made it over to North Carolina to the Big Adventures headquarters, home of Bonafide, and I'm about to turn it over to this guy right here and let him give you a full walkthrough of the River 119. Oh yeah. This is my kayak. Get yourself one. Fish on! Yeah! Oh my God! Look at that tank! That's a toad, brother. Golly! All right, Hans, take us through your latest creation, the new River 119 or RVR 119 for Bonafide.
Yeah, absolutely. The RVR 119, or the River, as Chad said. This is a boat about access and adventure and getting out on rivers, exploring places. So everything about this boat has been really designed thinking about those things, the unique features that you're going to be in with moving water, trying to get your boat to the river and into those access points. So let's just start out right at the bow, and I'll start out with what you've probably already heard about, which is how we've integrated the anchor wizard, and we have an anchor roller at the front. So what's really cool about this is that rather than just adding on to the boat, those anchor lines are routed through the boat now, and up front the anchor wizard anchor can actually nest up there as well. What that does is it just allows you to have a nice quiet place for the anchor to be stored, and then also when you let it out, it's gonna drop out quietly too, so you're sneaking up on fish.
And you don't do what I did, which is to wear holes in your boats where the rope goes back and forth.
Absolutely.
In a number of cases.
This can be a wear point, you know, for someone like Chad he's out 360 days a year, so you know we've taken care of that for you, buddy. Also, the other thing too is that on the bow, when you're in rivers, you're going through rapids, and so the bow has been designed for both lift to get you up over rapids, and when you're punching through those deep ones and you're getting into the meat of it, you've got water coming in. This boat is designed to clear water back out, and that is river fishing. When you're in a river, you're in and out of your boat, and you're going to get wet. And you can see that actually the deck of the boat here has a different slope to it. So you have storage up front, you have this wide open deck, but when the water comes in, it's going right back out. And it actually rolls back to scuppers that are right here by the seat, but then also underneath the seat as well. So that it's the water clearing that really helps when you're getting through rapids. And not everybody's gonna be in really big rapids, but if you do have that one spot on the river that you've got to get through, that's what this is designed for. All right, so a couple other things that I want to talk about up front. A storage strap. This is kind of a 3-in-1 thing. It is a carry strap. So fishing upstream, we know, is a great way to target fish. So at times you're going to be going up over shoals. You're going to be pushing up through things. When you're out of your boat and pulling upstream, this is a grab strap. So you can start by grabbing up at the bow handle, and then as you move the boat and you're gonna slide it up over shoals, you're gonna pull it up. Here's your next grip point, is this grab strap, and then you move down to the carry handles. We've got 3 carry handles at the midpoint of the boat. You move down to those and keep pulling it over. So it's a grab.
So you say shoals, and not a lot of the country has shoals, but this also works for log jams and beaver dams and, you know, even going up banks and things like that too. So I just want to mention that. But yeah, man.
Truck beds and guardrails too.
And you could even strap rods down in the middle of that if you wanted to. And
yes,
you know.
So I'm going to pull this up. This is an organizer for your rods as well. So we've got a clip. You can add a dry bag underneath it, so you can strap a dry bag down. And then when your rods are out in front of you, you can organize them here. And then you have a great spot to keep them all tidied up for, like, if you're getting to the river, just keeping them out of the way.
Or dragging it through the woods, or
dragging
something
them through
like
the
that.
woods. Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a multi-function area up here, and the bow, you can see, is open, and we have an access hatch so you can get in and do your rigging. But this bow is open, it is not hatched, because when you're on a river, you're going to be getting into the water and you're going to be getting wet, and you want stuff in a dry bag anyways, which means that you want it accessible, and that means that you don't have to have it in a hatch. you just want it tied down on the bow, kind of like a drift boat, really.
But the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons, is so that water can come in and just vacate out if you happen to punch through a wave or, you know, riffles and shoals and things like that. So, yeah. So this is a true, like, river boat all the way up to, you know, your higher class ratings, not just your flat water river boat, but like full blown, let's go get to some places nobody else can. Love it.
And it is a fishing boat, but we've created something, we'll talk about it in a little bit about the hull, but it is a boat that you can get through some whitewater with and really enjoy it. It's a cool part of river fishing. That's definitely my favorite thing.
Cool. Well, give us a quick walk through of what's going on here in the cockpit.
So we've kept the sonar pod, the dry pod, same thing. We've kept that from the SS series. So what's really cool about that is that the pod system, if you have an SS and you like that system, they will interchange. So you can leave your battery inside. You can mount your transducer to the bottom side, and that's a self-contained sonar system if you want to use that type system. If you're on rivers, you may not want to be using a fish finder, which is great. This still works. This is great for just having extra gear storage inside. It's gasketed.
It's truly dry. You know what I mean?
Dry.
Like, there's not a lot of things in kayaks that are truly dry, but that dry pod is dry.
Yeah. And this is forward of the seat, out of the way, and it's down low in this boat, so your rods can stage over top of it, so your rods can lay out over top of it as well.
And it could be an illusion because the seat's back a little bit, but it also looks like the cockpit's a little, like the back of the front of the seat is a little further away from the dry pod than it is in the SS. Is that accurate?
It actually is. Yeah, there's more space here because this is really meant to be lower down for your rods and further away. Yep.
So a lot of people know that you and I have like worked together on a lot of designs, meaning you did all the work and then I just threw ideas at you and you had to figure out how to make it work. But I want to make one observation that doesn't really translate as well on camera here. But these ridges right here, like you and I have talked about this for years, like putting those ridges in the boat to give the cockpit a little more stiffness for bigger dudes like me. So
that's right.
Is that what the idea behind that was, or is there something else that those little ridges are designed for?
Yeah, it's two things. We can add some stiffness that way to the boat for standing. This is definitely a standing boat. The other thing is you're going to have muddy feet. You're going to be jumping in and out of a boat like this. So these add grip features. So the deck pads are there. They quiet things down. They give you grip, but then you also have some grip between the deck pads. It's just added traction for you.
And it also kind of protects the leading edge of these traction pads so they're not getting as beat up.
That's right. So
as they normally would. I like that.
They don't pull up. Yeah. And then we have drain channels here. These just are, again, for moving water out of the way, and some places to stage your rods. Again, if you want to have 2 or 3 rods out in front of you, you can. One thing I'll show you, if you can, I don't know if you can get the camera, you can see down underneath here.
Oh yeah.
Those are rod butt slots. Is that a word? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. You can say rod butt slots.
Rod butt slots.
And that's actually what I was talking about. It's ideal to put the rod butts way back there, put your tips right here, strap them down. So if you're dragging your boat up a bank, down a bank, through the woods to get to one of those crazy river accesses, everything's nice and contained. So,
so
I actually love that idea.
If you store your rods under there, I think it's up to like a 7.2 or 7.4 rod. It will actually stay within the profile of the boat up here for transport.
Nice.
So if you've got to go down a trail or something like that and you've got a lot of brush, you're worried about your rods, they can be stored kind of up. They'll be kept out of the way.
Yeah, and when we get on the water and start doing some more in-depth videos, I'll do a little bit more about that. But thanks for pointing that out, man. That's awesome.
Cool. So the next thing is, I guess, we can talk about the anchor wizards and the mounting plates that are beside the seat. This is a plate that will come with the boat. You can take the plate off the boat, mount whatever you want to it, and then put it back down on the boat. So it's a drill. You don't have to drill your boat to mount your accessories, but in particular, these plates are designed for both the Torpedo throttle mount, which we'll show later, and then also the anchor wizard mount, and we'll show that later on a boat that I have rigged up in the back.
All right, so instead of passing over it, talk about what these two things right here are, and then give us a little bit of an explanation of what these two setups are right there. It might not be that obvious to folks that are just watching.
Yep. So these are your catch board slots. I don't think we don't have one here, but you get the idea when you have your measuring board out. I've put slots in the boat, and they fit a 26-inch Ketch board, so that you can lay the board down. Your feet can go under the board, and the fish, it actually tilts the fish head down towards the left side of the boat so that you can measure the fish easier, and it keeps the fish down lower in the boat just for that risk of the
fish jumping
out.
And you can also still put the board down on the boat and put one side up high.
You can.
And it's a nice little channel to hold it in place if
Yeah.
you've got the 32-inch board, or if you just like having a little bit more, security of the fish's nose being a little further down. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that you thought about the different heights on both sides, man.
Yep.
That's a little fist pound right in the middle of the video. That's good.
That was a tip.
I didn't even know that. That's good.
That was
That's
actually
good.
a tip from our buddy Luther too.
That's good stuff.
So,
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we have the mounting here. You can run a quarter 20 threaded stud in, and then you can run the Yak Attack mounting base on that.
Yeah, so
Or-
pretty much you can use any quarter 20 thing.
Yeah.
But these two little keyways right here are for the lock and load base from
lock
Yak
and load
Attack.
base,
Yeah,
yep.
so you can go ahead and get rid of the need for a track. If you've got something you want to mount there, it just locks in and it keeps it from turning.
Keeps it from turning.
But you can still just use that hole for like anything quarter 20. So that's perfect.
And so if let's say you're motorizing the boat and you want to add your fish finder monitor onto the gunnel and bring it back up to you, that's a good spot for that. Also paddle parks, things like that work great up here as well.
Or if you're one of those people that likes to have your torpedo throttle a little further forward, you don't necessarily have to put it there. You can just put it on the lock and load. So
Yep.
gives you some versatility.
And so on the left side of the seat, you have space, you have actually mounting track, and then you have this mounting bracket. You can kind of decide how you want to stage your gear there, but just a lot of options for the riggability.
And this little port right here is where your line goes in and it comes out the back for your rear anchor.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
Yep.
And got the same thing on that side going forward to the roller. So yeah, we'll look at that when we get to the back, but I just wanted to point that out while we're up here.
And we have run the Anchor Wizard lines, the tubing has been run in the boat. It'll come from the factory that way. So when you we'll provide an Anchor Wizard kit. When you get that kit, all you have to do is mount the crank by the seat and run the lines down the tubing, and then you're ready to mount your anchor.
Cool. Now, talk to me about this handle right here, because yeah, it's not normal for a kayak handle. There's a handle here, the handle's at the front. Talk to us about this handle in the center.
Yeah, so there are 8 grip points on this boat, and the basic idea here is that you want to be able to get this boat quickly and easily up out of a river, up a bank or down a bank or going over a shoals like what we talked about. A lot of times this is where you need to be able to grab a boat quickly, or even going into your truck bed. So this handle is back here for that next grab point. You've got a side carry handle here. You can grab this, and you can grab the boat, pick it up, and push it up over something, pull it over something. But this is great, especially just for getting it in a truck bed. And then the last thing about this handle is that truck bed storage is really a great way to move a boat like this. It's 11'9", so it's a good size for that. And this is a great place to run your strap for strapping it down.
Cool. I'm gonna hold on to this for a second while
Yeah.
you walk us through the Tankwell.
Okay.
That's a big Tankwell, bro.
It is. It will hold a 16 by 16 black pack with rod holders on it. So it is sized to be to basically carry what you need back there. And then you can see this cutaway. It is really set up for battery storage. In particular, the Torqeedo battery stores there really well.
But it'll also work for like a Dakota Lithium,
Dakota
or
Lithium.
any other battery that you have if you want to mount a motor on here that's powered by your standard 12-volt system.
That's right.
But yeah, man.
Here's a little thing that I haven't talked about much, but these surfaces are set up specifically for flush mount rod holders. We have a new flush mount, and so those are set up at
So they're angled back.
They're angled back, and they're actually angled both 2 different ways. I'm not going to go into all that, but if you like flush mounts, you're going to love setting it up there.
And if you hate flush mounts, you might like them more, right? Because they're
right.
cockeyed, so you don't have your reel handles tangling up.
That's
you know what I mean?
right.
And they're
Yeah.
laid back so that when you're going down the river, dude.
Yeah. So these surfaces are for that. We didn't put them on from the factory because there's such a a division of
Thank you.
Coke or Pepsi, right?
Second fist pound. Leave it up to the angler to decide if they want to put them there or not.
Yeah. And then I'll cover this real quick too. We have tracks behind the seat. They're set up for gear mounting, of course. They're also set up for our sidekick system, our wheel system. And so these are ready to go. So if you like that sidekick wheel system, it's great for, you drop the wheels down and take off. These tracks are set up for that. Also, you've got the black pack clip. We don't have a black pack in here, but we've got the clips for that. So everything is set up kind of like you see on the SS 127.
Yeah, standard Omni hook setup where it works
hooks.
everything with Yak Attack perfectly.
Yep.
Got the signature Bonafide access in the back. But talk to us about these ridges here. What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so we know that in river fishing, motorization from the stern is unbelievably helpful, because a lot of times you want to get upstream, cover some miles, maybe you'll float back downstream. So this boat has been designed specifically for motorizing at the stern, and these are set up to work with that. We'll actually show the bracket and everything on the rigged boat in the back. And then we'll show you this. This is, by the way, Chad, this is the better bracket.
With the big hands?
For the big hands. But this is an accessory bracket that we're going to offer, and this will work with a power. We have a power pole mount. 2 of the power pole mounts are here, and we have a wider mounts over here. These are going to stabilize the bracket. So I'll set that down so you can see it. So you can run a power pole if you want to, or you can run the torpedo bracket if you want to do that.
Yeah, and we're going to go back and look at your boat after we're done, so people will be able to see this. So y'all stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and take this back from you and get you to talk about the anchor channel and the stern handle, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
and then we'll flip this thing over and take a look at the hull.
So this is an extra wide grip handle at the back. You're hauling gear. A lot of times you may want to get 2 hands on it. So extra wide grip handle. But also there is a big channel back here, and the port that runs to the anchor wizard for the stern is back here, and this is for a drag chain.
Sweet.
And so drag chains are one of the things that we kind of DIY the drag chain, to be honest.
Even like cylindrical lead weights and your anchor, your window weights and stuff that people use. But yeah, the DIY thing.
Yep.
I do want to point out one thing about this, Hans, real quick, because when I saw this in the design early on illustrations, I was really excited about it, because on the SS 127, you have the handle that pivots, and the 2 places where it's located on the inside are not that strong. And so when you're accessing rivers, I always tell people to send the boat down ahead of you. So I love the fact that I'll be able to take a Rogue assist strap and hook it to that big handle, and then hold onto the handle and let the weight of the boat go down ahead of me. So for you guys that are loading your boats downhill, always let the boat go ahead of you. Never get in front of your boat and try to fish it past you, because if you ever slip, it's going to run you over. So that is huge for river access, is to have that big handle. You basically just fish a strap around that, and you can lower it down in front of you. So
yeah,
golly, we're 3 fist pounds into this thing, and we ain't even got it on the water yet.
And we're actually going to look at the hull in a second here, but the whole boat is designed for dragging. It has the twin skid plates on the bottom, but also the shape of the hull is good for dragging. So if you want to use a drag strap, that's great. If you want to drag it from the bow handle, you can do that. Or like Chad was saying, if you want to lower down the bank from the stern handle, you can do that.
All right, well, let's get this thing flipped over and take a look at the hull. Since we flipped this thing over and we're already back here at the back, let's go back to front on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see just generally that the hull has the pontoon shape that we use, the hybrid catamaran style hull, but it's been modified significantly. There's a couple things that make a boat work really well in moving water. The big thing is that the boat's got to drift really well, and so this boat has been made so that you can drift really well, and it can pivot in moving water. That means that you want to be able to make the boat turn quickly so you can catch an eddy, or if you're going upstream, you want to have the agility so you can actually get up and attain into the rapids above.
I want to talk about 2 things real quick, if you don't mind, and you can elaborate on it in case I don't use the right design or terminology. what I like about the fact that you've got your pontoons out away from center line is obviously it gives you more stability out there. But in a river, if you've got a V-hull or you've got the keel is the lowest point, it's the first thing to grab on everything, and it'll grab on stuff and spin you. And if you've got those pontoons, you can float through a lot shallower stuff. But it doesn't, put you in a situation where you can't butt drive it. What I mean by butt driving is you can put a little weight on one cheek, and because you expose that one pontoon, it turns the boat. So you can almost steer and pivot. Pivot is usually referred to while you're paddling, but you can also kind of lean and turn.
Yes.
And while you're fighting a fish, you can leverage the fish and really maneuver that boat. So
yeah, this boat is meant to be. You can lean this boat and turn it into eddies. Let's say, like if you're going downstream, a lot of times you've got to catch the back side of an eddy just so you can fish the upside of it. Well, that's some technique. I think in the future we're gonna actually put out some videos where we can show how to
100%. We're gonna talk about edging and seaming and and all that kind of stuff. But
But that stuff is really, really effective, and this boat is designed to do that. So it's a boat you'll grow into. You'll learn how to run rivers better and how to do it safer. You'll learn how to do it with more accuracy, so you hit the right spots on the river. But at the back here, you're right, Chad. I mean, this is about stability. So if let's say you're gonna go over a shallow ledge or a shoal, and maybe you didn't even know it was there, and then you're like, oh, here it comes. This gives you the stability so your boat doesn't get halfway off of a ledge and then just flop over.
Yeah, you're not high centered on it, teetering.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And then of course we haven't even talked about the drop skeg yet, but the drop skeg is what really changes this boat because it kind of makes it two boats in one.
All right, so we're going to pre-fist pound that one. But I want to talk to you folks about something that Hans probably wouldn't even appreciate because it's just a kind of a second, not even thought about design element. But I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for putting this drain plug all the way to the back and on the bottom and not completely up on the side to where you've got this much water that you can never get out.
Can't get out, yeah.
So we're going to be in the water with this thing.
Yep.
So that drain plug being where it's at, and then again, guys, there's another shot from the bottom of that oversized handle. But let me walk up here and actuate the old skeg handle, which is right here. And there you go. Now you can talk about what that means.
Yes.
And talk about how you get two boats in one.
Okay, so the bad news is that a boat that paddles really well in whitewater, in moving current, it doesn't track straight. And that's what we all want. Like, we want a boat that tracks straight. So to make it right for the RVR, we added a drop skeg. And what a drop skeg is it's essentially a fin at the back of the boat, and it corrects for paddle strokes. It corrects for a hull, the bottom of the boat having the right shape for moving water. It takes that out and helps the boat run straight. So let's say, I'll make this an example. Let's say you're running up a river, but to do that, you're gonna start in a lake and you're gonna paddle up that lake into that river. Well, you might have some flat water to cover. The skeg is gonna allow that boat to track nice and straight as you're getting up into that river. And it just helps you relax so you don't have to think about it. It just helps it go straight.
And I'll tell you that most people know, and you being a really accomplished paddler and designer, you think about the skeg as primarily for paddling. But I'll tell you another benefit of these things for the boats that I've had them on in the past is when you anchor from the front of the boat and you drop that skeg down, it keeps that boat from searching as much because it just creates that little bit of extra drag. So, golly.
So when you're on the river, what's really cool is that you can, let's say that your drift angle is not quite right for how you want to cast over to the bank. Okay, you're gonna target a series of trees that are blown down along the bank. If your angle's not right, you can flip the drop skeg up. You can pull it up. It makes the boat have its pivot very easily. To be able to pivot, you can spin the boat around, drop the skeg back down, and then continue drifting. So it gives you the ability to lock the boat in a little bit more, or make the boat really loose. That's a kind of a whitewater term. but it makes the boat being loose in the water means that it can move around easily.
It's also a NASCAR term, and a lot of my folks will know the
There you
difference
go.
between a tight race car and one that gets a little squirrely. So
Exactly.
let's talk about
Yeah.
the scuppers and work our way up
Absolutely.
and go from there.
So the boat is designed, as I was saying, this hull is designed for dragging as well. So you can see that all along here, when you're, let's say you're going to hit a shallow log or something like that, these surfaces are going to do the deflection work for you. They're going to be able to, you're still going to have the stability part of it, but they're going to help you move over those objects. Because rivers, you know, sometimes you're paddling through a section and then all of a sudden it goes to 3 inches of water, you know? Well, you got to get over that. And that's what these surfaces are designed to do, is to get up and over things. And you can really see that right up here in the keel. The keel is a completely different shape because we're not only parting the water, but there's an additional kick to this section up here that allows you to be able to pause your boat on shallow like logs or rocks that are in the river. And what that does is that allows you to stop the boat to make a couple of casts. I don't know if you do this, Chad, but a lot of times I'll hit something, try to get the boat to stop, maybe even throw a leg out of the boat over onto a log.
Yeah, we call it nose wedging. Basically what
Yeah.
you do is you run your nose up on something and wedge it on a rock, on a log, on the bank,
Yep.
and then just throw a foot out where you finish landing the fish. You do that to measure the fish.
Absolutely.
So that way you're not going downstream with your head down and end up in a strainer upside down and dead. So, man, while you're here, talk to us about this geometry of, because you breezed over it, but a lot of people won't necessarily understand what you're talking. Talk about the way that the bow parts the water, and then talk about these handles while we
okay.
got it upside down as well.
For sure, yeah. So I'm gonna try and do this. I'm trying to say this easily. You got to part the water.
Channel your inner redneck, Hans. Break it down redneck style.
You got to part the water, but you want to do it in a way that allows the boat to not be super noisy, right?
Yep.
Noise scares fish. That's bad. So noise is bad. So what we're doing here is we're actually parting. This is where the surface of the water is hitting the boat, and then under here, this is all of our deflection surfaces. So that's what you see here. And then the other thing this does is these are intended to roll the water back. So if you could imagine this boat going through it has the upturned bow and it's going through a bunch of waves. And if you get into a wave, it smacks that wave and it sends the water out as opposed to up on you. So it returns the water back out towards out away from the boat.
And we'll show this when we get out on the water, but also because this line goes in and goes out, if you happen to be anchored or sitting nose into the wind, you're not getting that constant slapping against the front of the boat, which makes it a lot quieter.
Yep.
Standard fat grip handle that everybody's come used to. It's got the rubber grip in there. But talk to us about these two cutouts right here. Oops, sorry. Talk to us about these two cutouts right here and the idea behind that.
Yeah, so if the boat's, right side up, these are your grip areas for the boat. And these are another way that, in particular, when you're out of your boat, a lot of times you may be dragging your boat up through some shallow water or something like that. Those are grip points for you to grab it quickly. Or if you're carrying it with a buddy, you and a buddy are carrying it down a really steep bank, more ways to grab the boat and hang on to it.
Cool. Now, obviously this scupper port is a little bit different and it's not designed for, structure scan or active target or a lot of that, because that's not what you're looking for.
Right.
But what it does do is it gives you a little bit deeper recess so that when you have your transducer on there, it's protected. It's protected, when you're going down through the rocks. So that's a really clever design. And in case it's not readily evident, good Lord, is that even a word? In case it's not readily evident for folks that are looking at this, talk to us about the scupper design and how they work as far as stiffening up the hull so we don't have cracked scuppers, but also vacating water.
Yeah. So the scupper by design it's two things. It's clearing water out of the boat, but it's also we put them strategically in spots where you're standing, and they link the bottom of the boat to the top of the boat. And the scuppers here, they're built into sidewalls. Basically, they're built for structure as much as clearing water.
So like in layman's term, if you guys have ever watched a home repair show and they say we can't take this wall out because it's load bearing,
There you go.
scuppers are load bearing walls in kayak designs. So
I'm stealing that one.
there you go. All right. Well, so talk to us about these 4 or 6 right here together in particular.
Yeah. So what you see is that this is the seating position of the boat, and you're standing in this region as well. So seating, standing, and these link the boat together. And this is where when the water is moving, if you're getting water in the boat, this is where it's coming out.
So if you just got a little bit of forward momentum, basically the design of these, you know, Venturi effect, a couple of other fancy words we could throw out there, is going to help vacate that water faster.
And then one other thing I want to talk about is on the hull side is rocker. When we talk about hull rocker, think about like NASCAR with the suspension setup. It's kind of the same thing. This boat has a loose rocker, which means that there's curvature up at the bow and at the stern, and that causes that thing to be able to pivot like this.
Yeah, just think about the leg on a rocking chair, how it rocks. Same thing, and that's why it's referred to as rocker.
And that's paired with the seat position. So the seat position of this boat is more forward than a typical fishing kayak. And the reason is that you want your boat to drift evenly. So it's that nice even drift profile that allows you to be able to set your boat where you want it to be for casts.
And I'm not going to get into the specific names, but there's been boats in the past that had a lot of rocker, what I call forward rocker, meaning the seat's way back and the rocker's way up in the front. And the bigger the dude is, or the dudette that's fishing out of this thing, the more it wants to ride nose high and spin like a top. So the fact that it's set up where the rocker was designed around the load or the seat position or the angler, that's one more, bam. So, well, Hans, look, man, a lot of people love these naked boat walkthroughs, but it's easier to see it and believe it. So let's head back to the lab back there and take a look at your boat, you know, as you've got it rigged up to this point.
Awesome. So we're back in the back. We've walked to where we do our rigging. We're gonna take a look at the boat that I've been using for a while. This is kind of a prototype pre-production boat. And I'll show you some of the stuff that I've added to the boat that's beyond just, you know, how you'll get it. So I've added the anchor wizard up here, or the anchor up here. This is the 6-pound anchor. You can see it on the roller right there. And
he wants to get in on the review.
And included with the anchor, I've routed the line through the tubing. The tubing's all comes with the boat, but you're going to add the crank on the right side of the seat for the part that's going forward to the bow.
Okay.
So you can route 2 anchor wizards. The bow side's on the right side of the seat, and the stern one goes to the left side of the seat. And I've mounted that to this gear track, and it's a little bit further back just to give you some clearance. The next thing I'll show you is that the Torpedo setup, I converted the foot braces over to sliding, rudderable foot braces. So this is a foot brace steering kit you can add, and that routes your rudder line. And it's, there you go, Chad, you're showing them. You can actually set the tension, set the distance with the back of the pedal when you add that kit. That's not standard, that's an accessory.
And one of the things that's great about that is that over the years, you had to make the little loop and swedge your rudder cables, but you were stuck with whatever length you set. So this will adjust for different users, different seat positions, different conditions. And so you're gonna definitely wanna upgrade to that right there if you're gonna motorize this boat.
Yeah, that's easily one of the most convenient ways to rudder a boat is the foot braces combined with that rudder kit. And then also with the Torpedo, I added the throttle over to the left-hand side, and it's designed to mount to that mounting bracket. Those are plates that come on the boat, and then you'll add some hardware to mount that throttle.
But you can mount other stuff there if you don't want to put the Torpedo there as well.
Absolutely. One of the gear cups or something like that will go really nicely there as well. And then the other thing back here, I've got a black pack. I've got the Torpedo battery, which nests really nicely right behind the seat, and it works with the bungee behind the seat as well, so it's nice and secure back there. And then I've got the double header paddle lock over here, and that's just a great way to get your paddle out of the way sometimes when you're really moving around in the boat. And then at the back, this is an accessory plate that we're going to sell. This will work with power poles and with torpedo bracket mounts. So that just allows you to set everything up on the back of the boat, and that it creates a bridge over top of the drag chain channel. So you can still use a drag chain at the back of the boat with your anchor wizard. And here's your outlet for that, and it's going to be underneath the bracket. And so that bracket is a bridge is over top, and your drag chain is going to hang below the boat if you decide to use that.
And then having a couple of grab handles built in when you got the motor on there just gets rid of that awkward trying to deal with how do you pick it up with the motor on there. Torpedo intended these things to be handles, but the edges are kind of sharp, so good job on putting those little handles in there. That's ideal.
Yeah, and they're going to be bigger than this in the final. That's a prototype. I actually took the grab handle off the boat because I knew once I put the bracket on here, I was going to be using the handles that are on the bracket instead. So
you're not going to have those hands from the Burger King commercial. I've got these tiny hands.
Exactly.
It's actually going to be bigger. All right, cool.
We
I wasn't going to say anything on the video, but I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah, they're much bigger.
Because look, let's look at this, guys. Like, I could probably fit 3 fingers in there.
Little midget hands right there.
Yeah. No, man hands are not going to work on that.
Not exactly. Yep.
Cool.
So those are kind of how I have it rigged up right now for river fishing and just getting out and testing it.
Cool. Well, the beautiful thing about this boat is you don't have to do a lot. That was the idea behind the design, right?
It's ready to go.
All right, let's get this thing on the river.
Cool.
All right, guys, I'm not going to let Hans off the hook that easy. We checked out his boat, but what we're going to do is we're going to run through my scrape concept, and I'm just going to throw the letters at him. If you guys are new to the channel, scrape is an acronym that I use to talk about the features of the boat before you buy it, before you scrape your money together to buy a boat. So let's start off with stability. Talk to me about stability in this boat, Hans. What was it designed for, and what can anglers expect from a stability standpoint?
Yeah, that's awesome, because we really didn't cover that. The stability part of this boat is centered around being a little bit lower initial stability. Okay, so it is the catamaran style hull, but this boat can actually be set on its corners a bit more. You need to be in a whitewater, I don't want to say whitewater, in moving water, you need to be able to get a boat to edge. That means you're going to be able to put some angle on it, okay? That's where initial stability is a little bit less, but secondary stability is more. So that's once you dip down one side of the boat, it comes to a stop.
So think of it as like training wheels for a bicycle when kids are learning how to ride.
Yeah.
You've got that initial tippiness in the middle, but as soon as one of those wheels hits, you're safe. And so these boats are designed specifically to have less wetted surface, so they perform better. But then when you lean over, the more you lean, the more stable they get. So when you sit down and do the butt wiggle test, you may feel a little bit of initial instability, but the secondary stability is super strong. All right. The next thing is comfort. Talk to me about comfort. Comfort is number 2 reason that most fishing most kayak anglers buy a fishing boat. So talk to me about comfort.
Yeah, the comfort side of this boat, we didn't talk a lot about seat. We talked about seat position. We didn't talk about seat height. In a river kayak, there's 2 things that you really have to figure out on a boat like this. One is the security of the seat height. Is it? Hang on a second. You like that?
Yeah, you're good.
That's my alarm to pick up my kids.
Well, then we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, there you go. The seat height is about security, so it's high enough that you can fish out of it comfortably. So you can pop to your feet and cast. That's one part of it, but then also the security of running rapids or getting down through the kind of the crazy stuff, right? So this seat has been positioned in such a way that we believe that you have the best blend of those 2 things,
Perfect.
Security and comfort.
All right, so the R in scrape is riggability and then reliability. I don't think we even need to talk about reliability when it comes to Bonafide, and we've talked about it when we're doing this boat, all the things that are going to stiffen it up and make it reliable and all that. But talk about riggability. I mean, you kind of covered it, but just give us an idea of what your idea was when designing this boat.
Well, I'll come at it from this perspective. Of course, we always go for the maximum fishability, which is the riggability of things. In the RVR, we really thought it through as it pertains to how you fish rivers, because it is a unique environment. And when you're fishing in currents and moving water in rivers, you know, you got to get your boat stopped, for example, to fish those eddies. You've got to be able to get your boat to the water and from the water, and you got to be able to get in and out of a boat fast. So the rigging side of it is really centered around that.
Cool, perfect. And we've talked about it all through the video, so that's pretty well covered. Now, the A in scrape stands for affordability. Talk to us about where this boat's going to come in from an affordability standpoint. Is the official price been set yet?
Yeah, so the official price is $1649.
Okay, so it's right there.
So it's right there. You know, I would love boats like this to be affordable, and I think $1649 is a great price to be at. We've just packed as much stuff in as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that price point with everything that it comes with, an integrated skeg, 2 skid plates, all the plates for mounting, everything except the motor stuff, you've got it. You've got everything you need. So
I mean, I'm kind of the one that's like, I keep asking. I'm like, can we do this? Can we,
yeah, right.
Can we add more? So
yeah.
I
think you hit the nail on the head with the balance of everything that you included, but not things that won't appeal to the masses. And then if those folks want to add those things, they can. All right, so the P in scrape is performance. Now, the performance is whether it's paddled, whether it's pedaled, or whether it is powered. And so I think for the most part, you kind of covered it, but talk to us about how you balanced the keeping in mind that you wanted to power it and at the same time you wanted it to paddle well. So talk to us about those two things.
Yeah, for sure, I put a lot of thought into the fact that it is a paddle and power craft. Those two things go hand in hand with a boat like this. The paddling side of it, I kept the deck area. For example, I created a way so that when you take big power strokes and you're paddling upstream, the deck is designed so that you can paddle this boat. It is a boat for paddling. The power side of it, I tried to make sure that there's enough capacity at the back and mounting options so that it can be motorized easily, put power to it.
And then moving the angler a little further forward also accomplishes helping it plane a little better, offset that weight. And we have to mention the skeg when we talk about performance, because it does give you the opportunity to have a boat that's maneuverable when you want it to be, but then will track really well when you want it to. All right, Hans, the next thing we always talk about is the E in the scrape, and that stands for everything else. And I think you've covered most of it. Transportability, storage, you know, it already works with the sidekick. Is there any other everything else, like, oh, by the way, last minute, I forgot to tell you about this, but there's one more thing I want to tell you about this boat.
You know, I'll say this about the boat. I think that it's built for, yes, it's built for rivers, but at 85 pounds, it's 11'9". So this is a boat that I think you're going to find is going to be a great boat for so many different places. And that's my everything, is it's going to go in a lot of different spots. You're going to find a lot of uses for it, maybe even waters that hadn't been considered. So that's my everything.
Cool. Well, one last overall fist pound for designing such an awesome boat. Guys, I'm about to load this boat up. Not one like it, that boat right there. Take it home and start rigging it out for the way that I fish and start hitting some rivers. And then I'm going to twist his arm to meet me. And we're going to create some content to give you guys some more on the water impressions of this boat. Talk about all the things we talked about here, but in practical application. Just wanted to get you guys a good walkthrough with the boat from the man that designed it.